Could it be? But me, your me, Louie T. Welcome to Divisional Round Weekend here on the Louie T Network as we continue to cover the National Football League postseason wall-to-wall coverage. Big game in the AFC for a trip to the AFC Championship. Game, one ticket punched. That team punched it tonight. Buffalo Bills advance to the AFC Championship game for the first time since, 1993? I believe it was the last time they went. Oh, man. Bills fans, celebrate! You're one game away from playing in Tampa for the rights to call yourselves Super Bowl champions. And it's a moment that Bills fans have been waiting for quite some time. And you're just one game away. Now the question becomes, is that a home game against the Cleveland Browns, or is that a road game at Arrowhead against the Kansas City Chiefs? And so we'll find that out tomorrow afternoon into the evening. But this game was heavily impacted by the weather. A wise man once told me, "We'll see you in January in Buffalo. Be ready. It might be chilly." And it was chilly, and it was windy, okay? And, that wind had one hell of an impact on this football game. Justin Tucker, a.k.a. Just Incredible, a.k.a. Just Could Not Catch a Break. He hit the uprights twice, both bouncing outside instead of inside the upright. And that was huge in this game. Those were some big misses. Josh Allen had an overthrow. I've seen him hit that ball a million times this year to Stephon Diggs over the top. I think the wind got a hold of that one, pushed that one a little bit further than he wanted it to go. We saw late in the game when Tyler Huntley had to come in. He had an opportunity down the field to Hollywood Brown, wide open, 5 yards beyond any Bills defender. And look, that might have just been a pure overthrow for all we know. Same with the Josh Allen throw. I'm just going to chalk it up to the wind. I mean, the wind was howling. It was amazing. You know, Al Michaels said, if the wind gusts right now are at 8 miles an hour, which is what the NBC tracker was saying, he said, then I'm an astronaut. You could see, and I've watched plenty of NFL games, and I know when I see, 5 or 6 mile an hour winds, that was not 8. Okay, the goalpost was literally shaking as Tyler Bass was going to kick one of his field goals that he missed. He missed 2 on the night as well, just like Justin Tucker did. That thing was dancing, okay? And those aren't plastic goalposts. Those things are made of pure metal, okay? And for those things to be rocking back and forth the way that they were, just tells you how impactful the wind was in this football game. That being said, it was a struggle for both offenses. I know we're going to hear a lot of the, oh my God, Lamar Jackson stinks. This Ravens offense is terrible. We're going to get all of that tonight. I'm not here for the slander. I'm just going to tell you right now, the Bills scored 10 points tonight as an offense. It wasn't the offenses as a whole, and you do have to give credit to that Bills defense, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later on this show, because they had a lot to do with the Ravens only scoring 3. But with that said, you gotta give the weather its just due here, okay? The Bills, and look, yeah, the Ravens were good. They weren't 10 points Bills offensive good, okay? Like, I didn't expect the Bills to be held to 10 points offensively in this football game. I didn't think the Ravens were that good on defense, okay? So for them to only score 10 offensively lets you know that this game was heavily impacted by the weather. But make no mistake about it, when they had to execute, I thought that was a great drive. And I was really upset at Brian Daboll. I can't speak for anybody else out there. I get it. This Ravens defense shut down King Henry last week. And so if they can shut down, the Titans run game, what do you think they're going to do to ours? Well, at least you got to try. God damn. I get it. Josh Allen's the man. I totally understand. But shit, you're not going to run it at all? They had, 3-4 rushes in the first half? I can't tell you how many plays they ran before they actually had a called run. And I don't want to hear about RPOs or any of that shit. I mean, I can guarantee you there were 20 straight passes called in the huddle. before there was actually a run. Now, there could have been 25 for all I know. I don't even recall the first time they legitimately handed the football off. But it was well into the second quarter, and it was after 20 dropbacks by Josh Allen. The one run they had in the first 20 play calls was a Josh Allen tuck and run. And that wasn't a called tuck and run. That was him eluding a rusher, getting outside the pocket, and using his legs to pick up a few yards. So I was upset at Brian Daboll. I'm like, bro, you really not going to call a run? Is that what we're doing tonight? You're not going to keep them honest at all. You're just going to throw it every single down. And it'd be one thing if they were just gashing this Ravens off defense through the air. And then I'd be like, okay, well, do your damn thing. I'm not one of these guys, you got to stay balanced. I'm not one of those guys. But there's a place and a time for everything. And I said, look, you can run the football against this Ravens defense, especially with the Bills being as prolific a passing team as they are. Spread their asses out and run out of the gun. I'm not telling you to get under center and try to hand it off. Spread them out, gun run, and see what you can get done. And they did that on the opening possession of the third quarter, and they had some success. Well, what do you know? And I said, that looks a lot better to me, Brian. Okay? That first possession of the second half was what I thought it was going to look like earlier in the game. And he just came out, guns a-blazing. I'm going to let 17 do these boys. I was like, okay. If you say, I wasn't really a big fan of the offensive play calling in the first half. I really wasn't, because essentially, and I thought the Ravens did a tremendous job of flipping the script. We're not going to blitz. They kept mugging the line of scrimmage and making it seem like they were coming, and they dropped out. And to Allen's credit and the offensive line's credit, they did a really good job of protecting up front for the most part. And so he had time to just sit back there and wait for somebody to get open, whether it was John Brown or it was Stephon Diggs. You know, he had time to sit and wait for somebody to come open, and then he would find them, and they were moving the ball a little bit. But just like the Ravens, they weren't able to finish off drives, especially in the first half. And, I would not have guessed that this game would total 20 points between the two teams. But when plays had to be made in the second half, this Bills team stepped up and made them. This game was less about the offense. And you know, that's a surprise for me, because I thought the Ravens offensively were going to be able to run the football all over the Bills in this game. And after the first two plays of the game, did anybody think that they weren't going to rack up 228 yards of rush offense after Gus Edwards goes for like 13 and then Gus Edwards goes for 11? And you're thinking, oh, shit, here we go. Here goes that Ravens rush attack. They're in trouble tonight. And then Dobbins after that goes for like 6. And you're like, yep, it's going to be a long night, Buffalo. Saddle up. Put that seatbelt on, man. It's going to be a rocky ride. And then after that, really, after that initial drive, and that was a momentous miss by Justin Tucker, because you come out of the gate, you run it down the field, the drive stalls out, but it's a 41-yard field goal. Tucker hits these in his sleep, but the wind's back there howling around. They're going into the wind, so it's not a very favorable situation to be in. And that ball just continued to drift. It actually started out right there, and I thought it was going to squeeze inside, and it kept going, and it hit the upright. I thought it bounced in. The officials looked at each other and said, no good. And I was like, man, that hurts. You know, you have an opening drive that eats up about a good 6 minutes of the first quarter clock, and you got nothing to show for it, and you're giving the Bills tremendous field position. I was like, that's not good. But I want to talk about this Bills defense, because to me, that's where this game ultimately was won. The Bills stepped up defensively, and I didn't see this coming. I didn't. I thought they could be at times soft in the middle. I said this is a smash mouth, physical Ravens rush attack, offensive line. They're going to be aggressive. And we've seen these types of matches where you get David versus Goliath. All right, David versus Goliath. And you get these fast, free-flowing defenses that want to get up the field and they want to run sideline to sideline. But when you come right at them and you hit them in the mouth, and those double teams start to get on these guys, then you get that lineman getting off the double team, getting up to the linebacker, and all of a sudden you get these big creases. And I thought that's what we were going to get. I thought they were going to be ragtagging Matt Milano at the second level, getting to the safeties. I thought they were going to be able to control the line of scrimmage, but you have to credit the Bills up front, whether it was Harrison Phillips or Quentin Jefferson or hell, even the ends, I thought did a really good job of setting a physical edge and getting into the backfield. Jerry Hughes and all of those guys, Mario Addison. I thought it was a great collective effort from all parties involved. Ed Oliver, I thought they did a really good job up front of just not allowing the Ravens to bully them. After that opening drive, where the Ravens had some good runs, some good hits, it was really tough sledding in the run game. And, they were the polar opposite of the Bills' offense. The Ravens refused to throw it. They were 12 passes, 4 runs at one point. And on the opening drive of the game, I think it might have been the first 8 plays or so might have all been runs. So they were the direct opposite of Buffalo from an offensive standpoint. And the Bills buckled down. They forced the field goal. And from that point forward, I felt like it was just a struggle to run the football. I mean, if we take a look at these numbers real quick, I'm interested to see if the Ravens had 125 yards of rush offense in this game. I'm going to say right now, my gut feeling tells me they didn't have 125 yards of total offense, or rushing, that is. They had 150. They made it to 150. Let's see how much of that was Gus and how much of that was Lamar. Gus had 42. Lamar had 34. Gus had 42. Dobbins had 42. Lamar had 34. And Huntley had 34. And I forgot about Huntley's 32 yards. That's what I didn't account for. Forgot he came in and ran as well. Because without his 32 yards, they're less than 120. They're at 118 yards rushing. And that's right around where I thought they would have been in this football game, because they just didn't have the kind of success. And honestly, everybody except for Lamar averaged over 4 yards a pop. Gus had 4.2. J.K. Dobbins had 4.2. It wasn't a bad night rushing. It just wasn't the kind of night that they had envisioned when they took the field. They thought they were going to be able to hit the Bills for some big runs. They thought they were going to get some good hits. And, Gus Edwards, you'd look up and it's 17 for 85 for Gus. J.K.'s got 13 for 77. And you're looking up and Lamar's got, 9 runs for 62. And you look, and all of a sudden it's 218 yards of rush offense. And that's what they probably envisioned going into the game. And it just didn't happen that way. And you got to credit this Bills defense for really forcing the Bills or the Ravens into some long down and distance situations. I mean, they sacked Lamar a few times in this game. And I thought Chris Collinsworth pointed out some things. One being that the Bills at times were getting pressure with just 4 guys. They didn't have to blitz to get pressure and heat up Lamar, because you don't want to do that, because if Lamar breaks through that first wave, it's all she wrote. It could be all she wrote. So, they did a really good job of just hitting home with 4. I thought there was good enough pressure on Lamar that he was never comfortable. We saw him back there having to do Houdini acts to bounce forward and then go backwards, then spin around and then come out of the thing. But it was a lot of work to get 2 yards, a lot of work to try to find J.K. Dobbins, who dropped the football a couple of times tonight. But I thought all in all, this Bills defense was game. And they gave some things up, just like on the drive with the pick 6 for Taron Johnson. They gave some stuff up on that drive. But when they had to make a play, they made the play. And honestly, I thought the biggest play of the game, everybody's going to point to the Taron Johnson interception. I want to go to the play before that, because Hollywood Brown, wide ass open for an easy touchdown. Lamar was trying to get to him, and Jerry Hughes applied pressure on that play that stopped Lamar from being able to get enough on that throw to get it to Hollywood, or this game is tied at 10, and it's a totally different ball game. So everyone's going to talk about the pick 6 by Taron Johnson, and that's a massive play because it really put the game out of reach at that point, what felt like out of reach at that point. But if Jerry Hughes doesn't make the play before, on the snap before that, it's 10-10. It's a brand new ball game, and I still think Baltimore finds a way to win. But instead, you get the pick 6, and the game kind of just changed. It was, everything happened so rapid in that there was like a 3-minute sequence. Pick 6, bad snap, Lamar's hurt, 3rd and 27 from your own 2-yard line. And I'm like, well, this game's over. And I will say, Tyler Huntley came in, and I remember during the draft last year, I said, if I'm the Baltimore Ravens, to hell with Robert Griffin III, he stinks. Draft Tyler Huntley. Well, they didn't draft him, but somehow they ended up getting him as an undrafted rookie. And to me, he's the perfect backup for Lamar Jackson. I thought he came in and he played well tonight, as well as you could expect from a guy that hasn't taken a bunch of snaps. And, he gave them a shot. And, again, credit to this Bills defense, man. To me, they were the story. If you're a Bills fan, you should be encouraged by what your defense did tonight, because I didn't think you had the ability. I didn't think you had the brass. I didn't think you had the balls to do what you did tonight defensively. You showed backbone tonight defensively. I didn't know you had that in you. That's why I didn't pick you to win the game. If it was coming down to the offenses, I've been riding with Buffalo all year long. You know how I feel about Josh Allen. So it was never a doubt about the offense's ability to get it done. It was always about this defense and my thought process that they were incapable of stopping the Ravens from ramming it down their throats, and that they were going to lose this football game based off of the Ravens' ability to run it and control time of possession. And it was interesting because early in the game, the Ravens were doing exactly what I thought they were going to do. They were controlling this game, time of possession. Let's see what time of possession ultimately ended up being. I don't think there was that big of a disparity. Yes, there was. 35-33 for Baltimore, 24-27 for Buffalo. So, again, exactly what I thought was going to happen from a time of possession standpoint. They controlled this game, they shortened this game, and they gave themselves a chance. But again, they didn't take advantage of opportunities. 2 missed field goals, a missed opportunity. If you're Lamar Jackson, you cannot. I know he didn't see Taron Johnson. He did not see him. He came from just outside his peripheral, and he just drifted right underneath that route to tight end Mark Andrews. But you cannot make that mistake right there. You have to see the whole field. You got to see everything. They got to come away with at least a field goal there, make it 10-6, and you got to put some game pressure back on Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. And you had opportunities. If you're the Ravens, you had every opportunity you could ask for. You hit Josh Allen, force a fumble, and if you're a Bills fan, you're cringing because Allen was on the ground. He was writhing in pain for a minute there, and that ball seemed like he was on the ground for what seemed like an eternity. And how the Ravens don't manage to recover it behooves me. But you fall back on that ball. And I knew Allen, and I predicted that in my breakdown, that Allen was going to have a turnover. And it was there for the taking, but they didn't take advantage of it. And so you were able to avoid the big mistake there. You were able to force the big turnover. Your 2 missed field goals didn't come back to haunt you because they missed 2 field goals on their end. And so big win for Buffalo. And to me, the game ball goes to that entire defensive unit. I really thought Leslie Frazier and company got it done. I thought they were the stars of this game. Truly, I did. Now, when you get to Baltimore, again, you're gonna get a lot of Lamar slander. I told you, I'm not here for it because this Ravens offense did exactly what. If you have some kind of misconception of what this Ravens offense is, or you want it to look like the Chiefs offense, or you want it to look like the Titans offense, or you want it to look like a dynamic offense, that's never going to be what the Ravens are unless they're running the football. Last year it was dynamic, but it wasn't dynamic through the air. So that's not who they ever are going to be with Lamar Jackson at quarterback. And that's okay because they can win games with Lamar Jackson at quarterback in the playoffs, on the road, at home. It doesn't matter. They can win playing this style of football. But what they didn't account for was 2 missed field goals from their future Hall of Famer kicker, Justin Tucker. What they also didn't account for was some missed opportunities, whether you're talking a drop on a 3rd down by J.K. Dobbins, missed opportunity on a fumble that's on the ground for about 3 Ravens to have a chance to jump on, and nobody seemed to be able to get down and get to it. And then a Lamar Jackson pick 6. I mean, what can you do? They had opportunities in this game. And when you look up at the score and it's 3-3 at halftime, if you're Baltimore, you're saying, we are right where we want to be. We do not want a shootout with these boys. We can't hang with them. We need to drag them down to our level, and they did that in this game. So the fact that it's 3-3, and even after Buffalo scored that opening drive touchdown to kick off the second half, you're saying, okay, they scored. Why can't we do it? And they moved it right down the field. And you know what was crazy is that Buffalo had a long drive to start the second half. Baltimore countered with a long drive of their own, including a Lamar Jackson, 15-yard run on 3rd and 14 to keep that drive alive. And the third quarter was essentially done after 2 possessions. Essentially. There wasn't much time left after the Taron Johnson pick 6. Maybe 3 minutes left in the quarter, if I had to guess. So 2 big, lengthy drives. And the biggest difference is Buffalo had something to show for theirs. Baltimore ultimately didn't have anything to show for theirs. And so defensively, look, you hold one of the best offenses, to me, the second best offense. And I know Green Bay Packers fans might have something to say about that, but to me, it's Chiefs 1, Bills 2, and then Packers 3. You held the second best offense in football to 10 points. They missed a couple of field goals as well, just like you did, so it could have been a little bit more. But look, Bills had a total of 220 yards of offense in this game. What more do you want from the Baltimore Ravens defense other than maybe a turnover or 2? I mean, 220 yards of total offense for one of the best offenses in football. You can't ask for a better performance from this Ravens defense. They didn't give up any deep balls, even though Stephon Diggs had an opportunity. He got behind the defense, and Diggs went over. Look, Diggs, he's gonna Diggs. Okay, Diggs is gonna Diggs. 8 catches, 106 yards. That's what Stephon Diggs does. All right, and a touchdown. Josh Allen had 206 yards passing, 106 of them, so more than half went to Stephon Diggs. More than 50% of his passing yards went to one guy. But that's what they've been all season. You'll take that because you said it's not going to be Gabe Davis, and he didn't look right. He was limping all around the football field. It's not going to be Cole Beasley. He wasn't right. He was limping all around the football field. And it ain't going to be Smoke Brown. And he didn't do much. He had a couple of nice catches on the sidelines early in the game. But like I said, for the most part, it was Diggs, and that was it. And they didn't run it well. They really didn't try to run it at all. 220 yards of total offense. That's it. They did their part defensively. And you needed more from the offense. And you know what's crazy is that the offense of the Ravens actually did move the football. A number of times in this game, Lamar took some bad sacks in this game. A couple times I'm like, you're doing too much. And I've said the same thing to Josh Allen. You're doing too much right now. You just throw it away. But I thought on the drive, the third quarter drive, the first one of the second half for the Ravens, what they did on that drive, I thought was there in the first half. The Bills were aggressive on defense a couple of times, and the underneath stuff was there in the first half. The 5-yard stop to Willie Snead, that was there. The little check down over the ball to J.K. Dobbins, that was there. Miles Boykin for 7 yards on a comeback, that was there. Hollywood Brown on a 5-yard stop, that was there in the first half. He just wasn't taking it. He wasn't taking it. He took it on that drive, and they got all the way down the field. Just peppering them. Short pass. So you want to blitz? Boop. RPO. All right. Boop. Little pop pass right to the tight end. We're just going to keep the sticks moving. And I thought that was going to be there the remainder of the game because the Bills were like, we're not going to allow you to run and hurt us, and we're not giving up anything deep. So if you want the little underneath stuff, you can have it because we don't think you can do that for 13, 14 plays and score. We don't. And they were right. What we don't want is for us to get nosy, jump on a route like the one to Hollywood late where, Tre'Davious White, for as good as he is, man, boy, did he bite down on that double move. He bit it hard. Luckily, Tyler Huntley couldn't get it there. So the Bills challenged them defensively and said, we don't think you can go 14 plays without making a mistake. We don't think you can go 14 plays and put it in the end zone. They were right. They were right. They gambled, and they were right. You can have all the little short underneath stuff you want. You can have 3-4 yards of pop on the ground. But when it comes time for you to get in the end zone, you're going to make a mistake. Lamar's going to take a bad sack, and he did on a couple of drives and killed some drives. You're going to make a mistake. And when you do, we'll be ready to capitalize. And they did it tonight. Sucks that Lamar didn't finish this game. Would have loved to have seen, even after the interception, this game was not over. And in my mind, I'm saying they still got a shot. And Brian Daboll never took his, to his credit, I didn't necessarily always agree with it. He never took his foot off the gas pedal. He was like, to hell with this. We still throwing the football. And I thought the Ravens had a shot to come back if Lamar stays in this game. But unfortunately, he sustained a concussion, wasn't able to finish. And at that point, that's when I knew this game was over. Tyler Huntley is not bringing the Baltimore Ravens back in this football game. And he tried, and a valiant effort by him, but he wasn't good enough. Anyway, Bills move on to the AFC Championship game, where it'll be interesting because the Browns have a shot tomorrow. I don't think they will. Generally, we don't get what we want. I think most of us wanted Bills, Chiefs when the postseason got underway. I've said this. I've long said this. In sports, as fans, we generally don't get what we want. We all wanted Kobe versus LeBron at some point. We never got it. All right, we all wanted Favre versus Peyton Manning. We never got it. We said we'll settle for Favre versus Brady. We never got it. We said, okay, fine. Didn't even worry about that. Can we get Rodgers versus Manning? Never got it. Okay, we will settle for Rodgers versus Brady. Never got it. We may get it in the championship game, but we never got it in the Super Bowl. I remember, and I always bring this up, and I'm going to always bring this up until I'm dead and gone. In 1998, I wanted Broncos and I wanted Vikings. God damn it. I deserved Broncos and Vikings. I got Falcons and Broncos. We never get what we want. We are 4 quarters away from getting half of what we want. Who doesn't want to see Rodgers Mahomes? If you're a Bills fan, I'm leaving you out of this conversation because obviously you don't want to see Mahomes in the Super Bowl. You want to see Josh Allen in the Super Bowl. So I'm leaving you out of this conversation. Everybody else out there, who doesn't want to see Mahomes and Rodgers in the Super Bowl squaring off against one another? Everybody does. We're probably not going to get it because we never get what we want. But we're getting close. Birdman hand rub. Here we go. The Bills have done their part. Whether, the Chiefs do their part or not, or the Browns pull an upset and they're hosting the game in Buffalo at Orchard Park, the Bills are there. They're saying whatever happens, we'll be there. Home, away, they feel really good about where they are. And hell of a game for Buffalo. Hell of a season for the Bills. And it's not over. It's just getting started if you ask the Buffalo Bills, man. Big win. They're in the AFC Championship game. 2 tickets punched. One in the NFC, one in the AFC. 2 tickets left. We'll see who grabs both of those tickets. Let's get to the comment section. I got a couple of super chats. Want to knock these out before we get into the comment section. Andrew Smith, thank you for the super chat. Andrew Smith, I don't even know what you're talking about. Thank you for the super chat and doubling up, Andrew Smith. Double up. Andrew Smith says, "Wah. I don't know why. Stop asking. I don't know why. I don't even know what you're asking why for. But I just know. Maybe you're talking about 1998. I've done that on the podcast a million times. You don't want to send me down that rabbit hole because I could go way down that rabbit hole and it might take a lot to get me out of there. So I'm going to just try to stay on course because, when I veer off of it, it can get pretty ugly. Okay? Especially when we start talking about 1998. All right? Anyway, if you're out there and you're watching this video, I want to thank you first and foremost for joining me on divisional round, overtime, Bills, and Ravens. If you're out there and you're not a subscriber to the Louie T Network, first and foremost, welcome to the channel. Subscribe to the Louie T Network for more great content. Turn on that notification bell so you don't miss a thing. And also, hit that like button if you haven't already done so. If you're new to the channel, once again, welcome. And if you want your comment read on the air, use the hashtag LouieTLive so I know that your comment is directed towards me. And if it's pertinent, I will read it. That being said, got another super chat. And just so you know, super chats jump straight to the front of the line. So if you want your comment read, you think you got something important to say, and you want it to be said, the best way to guarantee that is a super chat. So with that said, got another one here from Andrew Smith. He says, Andrew Smith, thank you for tripling up, even though I don't think you meant to triple up. He says, let's go Buffalo. I effed up. I figured as much. It's all good. And congratulations to your Buffalo Bills on clinching a berth in the AFC Championship game. Jordan Jones, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, my man. Jordan writes, wish Frank Gore was a part of this Buffalo roster. Forever Frank has been around the block a couple of times. He deserves some championship football. You know, it's been a long run for Frank, but unfortunately, Frank was in the wrong part of, well, he was in Jersey, not New York. But that's another discussion for another day. Got a comment here from RG3 hashtag who writes, at this point, I couldn't see what Lamar could do. They never gave him a chance. Look, I thought Lamar did some good things. I thought Lamar struggled at times. But all in all, Lamar Jackson is a dynamic playmaker. And you're never safe. You never feel good. You never feel comfortable. Because he could stink for 3 quarters. And then all of a sudden, he could get it going. Just like that drive right before halftime. You know, they were kind of hot and cold in the first half. A lot of everything that they were doing for the most part was ground-based. And then right before the half, they get into hurry-up mode. They don't have, you know, a ton of timeouts. They'd already squandered 2 of them, so they only had 1 left. And Lamar has to take to the air, and all of a sudden he starts throwing darts, and all of a sudden they're down the field in field goal range right before the half. So you just never know. And I thought he was really sharp on that first drive of the third quarter. You know, he really came out and had a response to the Buffalo drive that went down and got the points. And he was looking to match that. And, you know, again, if Jerry Hughes doesn't make that massive play, and I hope people continue to talk about that, just like the week before, you know, everybody wanted to talk about, you know, all of the things that the Bills did in that game. Don't forget about Darrell Williams recovering that fumble. That was the biggest play of the game to me. Just like that, in that game, to me, the biggest play of this game is Jerry Hughes getting to Lamar Jackson as he's trying to get the football to a wide-open Hollywood Brown for a touchdown to tie this game up at 10. And the very next snap is a pick 6, and the game was never the same. So to me, that's the biggest play of the game, and I think people need to make sure they bring that up when they talk about this win for Buffalo in this football game. But I thought Lamar, he still had this team in the game, and they were going to have a chance. They were going to have a chance. I got another super chat. This one is from Andrew Smith. Thank you for tripling up. Really, your 4th of the night. But thank you for tripling up, Andrew Smith. Greatly appreciate you. My man Andrew writes, I will throw down further. I didn't mess up. I did. The first half was life like a snow game. It was. It did have that kind of feel to it, like, you know, it was a bad weather game, but the wind made it feel as if there was inclement weather. I mean, the wind acted as, you know, snow, but even in a snow game, you can throw it. I think any offensive coordinator will tell you the thing that they hate the most isn't the rain, isn't the snow, it's the wind, because you can't account for when it's going to gust, how it's going to gust, and how powerful it's going to do it. And so we saw punts tonight that just went up in the air and then died. That's how hard the wind was blowing. And then we saw deep balls. And if you throw a tight spiral, which is why you have to have a gun in Buffalo, and Josh Allen is tailor-made for Buffalo because he can throw the football with such velocity that in a tight spiral that will cut through the wind. But if you throw a duck up there, and Lamar Jackson has been known to throw some ducks at times, the wind will just take that. It'll just take that. So I can tell you this. The first half felt like a snow game. It did. Hell, there were times in the second half where it felt like a snow game, to be honest with you. Reese says, the Bills went from laughingstock to Super Bowl contender seemingly overnight. It feels like seemingly overnight for people that haven't been paying attention. But if you've been watching, this has been a progression. When they drafted Josh Allen in 2018, people said they made a mistake. And Allen wasn't accurate enough. He wasn't this, he wasn't that. Hell, even Bills fans had some questions. You know, I remember Bills fans early in the 2019 season looking at Josh Allen and saying, okay, he's got 16 starts. What do you guys think? You know, is this the franchise quarterback? And I'm like, yes. I'm screaming yes. Yes, he is. And there were a lot of Bills fans that weren't sure. And they made it to the playoffs. They won some games last year you didn't expect. They went to Dallas and embarrassed them on Thanksgiving. And they were a good football team last year. And they had a 16-0 lead at Houston. And they pissed it away. And Allen made some bonehead decisions late in that game. You're like, hey, Josh, what the hell are you doing, man? He just didn't know. He hadn't been in the playoffs before. So you had to pardon him. You had to give him a break, right? But you saw it. And, I mean, we could go back a year before they drafted Josh Allen in 2017 when they made the playoffs for the first time since 1999, right? This has been coming for a very long time. They've been building towards this, you know? Sean McDermott, then they get Brandon Beane, and they've been building towards this. And now the culmination of everything has gotten them to the point where they're at now. This didn't happen overnight. They've been playing quality defense for years, and the defense started to take a step back as the offense started to take steps forward. And now you were saying, look, if we could just get a semblance of what we were defensively, we're going to be unstoppable. And we saw a glimpse of that tonight. If they can do something like this next week, no matter who the opponent is, because if it's Cleveland, it's going to look a lot like this because they're going to run the football. They're going to want to run the football. If it's Kansas City, you're going to need to at least slow them down, similar to the way you slowed them down the last time these two teams met. You played Kansas City earlier this season on a Monday, and it was supposed to be a Thursday night game. It got postponed, pushed back to a Monday, and it was wet, and Travis Kelce did you in, but you hung tough in that game. So you know you can play with them. The question is, can you outscore them? We'll see. But this has been coming for a while, just to reiterate. Got another super chat. This one is from Andrew Smith. Thank you for your fourth super chat of the night. Andrew Smith, greatly appreciate you, who writes, don't jinx this, fellers. And he said in his Butters voice. Hey, I know exactly where you're coming from there. You know, it reminds me of the Dr. Pepper commercials, and I love those commercials. The steak commercials, where he's like, oh, he's automatic. He's not going to miss. And then he missed, and they're like, you jinxed it. And he said, I didn't jinx it. He just missed. And then they called the police, and they got him in the car. He said, you don't think what I said impacted him, do you? And in the next commercial, he's in court being tried for being a jinxer. And, you know, as fans, we're so superstitious when it comes to things like this. And you're one game away. You're like, hey, look, guys, let's stay humble. And let's just find a way to get it done. Anyway, Lil_Gilly says, the pick six was practically the nail in the coffin. It felt that way. It did. But even at 17-3, with Lamar Jackson under center, I still didn't think it was over. It wasn't until the next possession when their center, who just had a rough night, there were at several bad snaps. Lamar had to catch one with one hand. That was a little hot. There was another one that Lamar actually dropped that was off to the side. Then there was one that he airmailed over his head, which is the one that Lamar ultimately got hurt on. There was the one that Lamar had to go pick up that he skipped back to Lamar. It wasn't until that bad snap and Lamar getting the concussion, and you're like, I knew it wasn't a safety. He wasn't in the end zone when he got rid of the ball. So I saw Bills players running around with their hands together. I'm like, it's not a safety, but that drive's dead, and you're gonna have to punt this thing, and they're probably gonna get great field position. I'm like, the game's over now. If it wasn't over before, it's over now. So I just thought that was the pick six was huge. It did feel like in the moment, like there's no way Baltimore is gonna score 14 points. They got 3 points right now. We're almost in the fourth quarter. They're not just going to all of a sudden magically just start scoring points, but anything was possible. That's why with Lamar, I just never count him out because all it takes is for the Bills to try to bring a blitz, heat Lamar up on a 3rd and 7. He escapes that first wave. Everybody else is in man-to-man coverage. He takes off, and he gets one block, and one defender thinks they've got an angle, and they don't. He outruns it, and it's a 62-yard touchdown run for Lamar Jackson, and just like that, they're back in the game. Or they come with that all-out blitz that I just talked about. They're in zone coverage behind that blitz, and Lamar starts to run. That safety, that cornerback that's supposed to be having a deep third, his eyes are fixated on Lamar. He stops his feet. Hollywood Brown takes off down the field, and Lamar throws it to him over the top. And just like that, it's a 72-yard touchdown, and it's just like that, you're back in the game. So I wasn't willing to bury them quite yet because Lamar has that ability. However, that pick six did feel like in the moment, like this is probably done. It did in the moment feel like this game is probably over. Fantasy Dio, thank you for the super chat. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Really appreciate you, Fantasy Dio. Got a comment here from JP who says, good Lord, that game was a massive snooze fest. I enjoyed it. I like defensive games. It was hard hitting. It was physical. And it took patience. That's also something that I was impressed with from both teams, especially the Bills, because the Ravens are perfectly fine with being patient. But the Bills, they've been a quick strike offense this season. They've hit big plays. And I wanted to see where they're going to have the patience necessary to take the underneath throws, to not try to force something and make a mistake. I was accounting for that to happen. I built in an interception that Josh Allen forces into zone coverage where he doesn't see someone. I accounted for that, and it didn't happen. And that's a credit to Josh Allen and his maturation. I don't know if there was ever a time in this game where he almost threw a pick. I can't remember one throw where I said, whew, he was living dangerous on that one. Everything that he did in this game to me seemed like either it was calculated, guy was open, or he was chucking it deep. And it might have been double coverage, but the ball wasn't even close. You know what I mean? So I don't think he ever really put the ball in harm's way outside of the time that he fumbled when he got hit. So I enjoyed the game. I can't speak for anybody else. Rarely, my man Reese says, I love how in the AFC, it's the young pups, Allen and Mahomes. In the NFC, it's the old guard, Brady, Breeze, and Rodgers. So they brought that up on the telecast. And let me go ahead and clean something up from the last video I did, because I do this quite often. In the moment, I say something, and I have a brain fart because I put myself on the spot, and I can't think about all of the things. And I don't want to sit there and just be thinking a bunch of dead air. So I don't sit there, take the time to think about the right answer to the question that I just posed for myself. So the last video I just did on the Rams and the Packers, I said, who are the young quarterbacks that the old farts are going to turn this thing over to? A few years ago, it was Andrew Luck, it was Russell Wilson, it was Carson Wentz. We thought the future looked bright. And then all of a sudden, there's no more Luck. Wentz looks like he's going in the wrong direction. And Russell Wilson's now 30 years old. So I don't know if you even term him young. I said, man, it's just Wilson and Watson. Who else is it? Well, duh, there's Mahomes, there's Allen. So there are, and Mayfield might ultimately end up in that conversation if he keeps trending in the right direction. Lamar Jackson, I know a lot of people don't want to hear that because they think he stinks. He's in that discussion. He's an MVP. You say what you want about Lamar Jackson. Just like in the NBA, it's hard to be an MVP of the league. Lamar Jackson was that. Give him his respect. You saw how many road wins that he has. 19 road games in his career, 16 wins. Okay? Ridiculous. stat there, okay? Now 20 games on the road and 16 wins. So that means he's hitting at an 80% clip on the road, which is asinine when you think about that, okay? So before you dog Lamar Jackson and, this team's inability, I think it's 20 road games and 16 wins, whatever the case may be. Before you dog Lamar Jackson, he's a part of the young wave of quarterbacks. He's changing the way people view the quarterback position. And you could say, well, there was Vic before him, Colin Kaepernick, and all these other guys. But teams have to evaluate the quarterback position differently when you look at guys coming from the collegiate ranks into the pros. Because of what Lamar Jackson is doing, if you're willing to play that brand of football, you can have a guy that maybe isn't the best passer, has some work to do in that department, but because he's so athletically gifted, and there aren't many Lamar Jacksons out there, there aren't many guys that possess the skill set that he does. I'm just saying, it's interesting now that there is a collection of young quarterbacks ready to take over. When we finally get Roethlisberger and Brady and Breeze and Rivers and all these old farts the hell out of here, the Josh Allens, the Patrick Mahomes, the Joe Burrows, I think he's going to be special if he comes back from his injury the way that I think he is. The Justin Herberts potentially, the Deshaun Watsons, the Josh Allens, the Lamar Jacksons of the world. These are the guys that are ready to assume the role of the massive quarterbacks in the league when we finally see these other guys move on. So it is interesting to see how it is playing out. They showed the NFC average age of the quarterbacks. And if not for Jared Goff, you would be pretty much right around 40 years old. I think it ended up being something like 37 or something was the average age of the quarterbacks. And that was only 37 because Jared Goff is like 25, 24, 25, 26 maybe. And he brought that average down. Whereas in the AFC, the average age is like 24 years old because you got Mayfield, Allen, Mahomes, and Lamar Jackson in the Final Four. So it is young versus old essentially right now in the two conferences. Got another super chat. This one is from Andrew Smith. Thank you for your 5th super chat of the night. Can't see you, Andrew. Really appreciate you, Andrew, who writes, I don't like ending at 4, so I'm going for 5. I'll just say that was an effing good game, regardless of team. I agree. Like, my man JP said that was a boring game. I enjoyed the game thoroughly. I'm with you. Andrew Smith, thank you again. Really appreciate you. My man Andrew writes, old farts. I just had to repeat and jump in. But Beyonce had one of the best videos of all times. Hey, look, I've been trying to push these old farts out of here for the longest, but we just can't seem to get rid of them, especially Brady. And I got rid of one last year, Eli Manning, and I'm like, man, I could be getting rid of Rivers and Breeze in one fell swoop, and then it'll just be Roethlisberger and Brady. I'm not really looking to get rid of Aaron Rodgers. I don't consider him an old fart, even though he's 37. Because you got to remember, his career, it took him like 3-4 years before he actually got on the field. So he's a young 37, unlike some of these other guys that kind of jumped in and started playing. Rivers, you could say he had to wait his turn behind Breeze when he got drafted, but still. I'm trying to get rid of some of these guys, and move in some of the young blood. You know what I mean? Damon Brown, a massive Bills fan. It's been a while. It feels like, Damon. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My man Damon Brown writes, "Get the tables, Lou." As we all know, the Bills fans love to get the tables out and destroy those. Oh, it's gonna be some table smashing come later on tonight and into tomorrow. No table is safe, okay? No cafeteria tables, none of those quick, easy breakaway tables that you see when you used to see on ECW and all that stuff. No tables are safe. If you got a table, hide your tables, man. Especially if you're in Buffalo, hide your tables. They're not safe with the Bills getting this win and advancing to the AFC Championship game. Andrew Smith, thank you again. Really appreciate you. 7th of the night from Andrew Smith, who writes, people named Drew, nerds. Wait. Yeah, you forgot about that. I'm pretty sure there are people that call you Drew. Good one. Good one. Got a comment here from Rich, who writes, I'm proud for Bills fans, Lou. One of these days, me and you gonna be here crying when we make naming all the quarterbacks we've seen in our lifetime. Don't speak for me. I ain't crying. You crying. But seriously, man, it's amazing. You know, as we go down the list and we watch these guys play, and these guys come, they go, and you watch the new guys come up, and it's fun to watch these young quarterbacks like Josh Allen, for instance, coming of age. It's fun to watch the light bulb come on. Especially me. I'm a massive Josh Allen fan. So seeing him come of age this year, I told you, I felt like a proud papa whose only son finally made it. Like, yeah, I've been talking all this shit about Josh Allen. You didn't want to give this man any respect. You said he was too inaccurate. You can't fix inaccuracy. And he's a poor decision maker. And he's forcing the ball because he's got a strong arm. This, that, and the third. Okay, fine. We'll see. And seeing him do what he's done this season, I've been so happy and proud of what he's done for this Bills organization. And for his career, honestly, they're talking about an extension with him this offseason, and I think he's going to get it. Reese says, has Lamar Jackson become a choke artist? I told you there was going to be some of that tonight. And like I said, I'm not here for the Lamar Jackson slander. I'm going to defend him. I'm going to defend the Baltimore Ravens because you're going to get some of that. Oh, the Ravens offense stinks. All of that good stuff. Bottom line is, this is the brand of football that they play. And when you make some of the mistakes that they made tonight, this is what's going to happen. You're going to be reduced to 3 points. When you miss 2 field goals, when you throw a pick six, when you got an easy field goal opportunity, and no field goal opportunities were easy on this night, but he wasn't going to miss from 27 yards out, okay? So when you got an opportunity like that staring you in the face and you throw a pick six, it's at worst a 10-point swing, but it could have been a 14-point swing. Either way, when you make the kind of mistakes they made, they moved the football. As I mentioned, 340 yards of total offense for the Baltimore Ravens, and probably 280 of that was achieved with Lamar Jackson in the lineup. Maybe 260 of it was probably achieved with Lamar Jackson in the lineup. Okay, let's see how many yards Huntley had in the game. Rushing, he had 32. He had 60. So 92 yards of the game was due to Tyler Huntley. So you're talking about every bit of the 340 yards of offense, 230 of them or 250 of them, you know, that was with Lamar Jackson in the game. Like, they were moving the football is essentially what I'm getting at. You know, they were 7 of 17 on third downs. Like, they weren't terrible. Let's not make it seem like this Ravens offense was abysmal. And look, Lamar Jackson, either you love him or you hate him. He's an enigma, all right? He's a very polarizing quarterback in this league. Either you think he stinks, he can't throw the football, he can't win in the playoffs, or you say, look, Lamar is dynamic. You know what I like, and it's funny, I was having a conversation with my cousin today. We're having an NBA conversation. And he's like, I can't stand Giannis. He says, I think he's a talented guy. I think he is a unicorn for his size, his build, his length, his athleticism, his strength, and his ability to play bully ball on the block and be almost unstoppable once he gets close to the rim. But I think he's overrated. That's what my cousin said to me. He's overrated. I said, well, I disagree. You know, I think a lot of that stems from people hating the fact that he can't shoot. He's not a consistent jump shooter. And he's still got time to develop that. And I said, another thing is he hasn't won in the playoffs. But the guy's a damn near 2-time MVP in the league. It's hard to be MVP in the NBA. There's so many good players in the league, and Giannis is one of those guys. So for me, I look at Lamar the same exact way. He's a unicorn. He's different. It's not always going to be pretty, just like it's not always pretty with Giannis, but he was a league MVP, and he is a difference maker, but he's having issues in the playoffs. And until you win in the postseason, people are always going to question you, no matter how well you play. Lamar Jackson gets it done in the regular season, and no one's going to dispute that. They were 14-2 last year. They were 11-5 this year. So in the last 2 years, Lamar Jackson in the regular season, and one of those losses isn't charged to his account. He did not start that game versus the Steelers the second time around. So he was 10-5 this year. He was 14-2 last year. 26-7 over the last 2 seasons in the regular season. Is anybody going to debate whether this guy's legit or not? He can get it done. It's just the postseason. And it's a little bit different. Everybody's good in the postseason. He's going to have to up his game. He's going to have to be a little bit better. The more experience he gets, the better I think he'll become. But we'll see. Got another super chat. This one is from Andrew Smith. My man Andrew, thank you for your 8th super chat of the night. My man Andrew writes, cheers, buddy. Have a good one, man. Cheers. Likewise. Enjoy the rest of your night. Really appreciate you, Andrew Smith. Damon Brown, thank you for doubling up. Double up. My man Damon writes, on to Kansas City. I give Browns 0 chance. As much as I would like to concur with you, I actually do give the Browns a chance. The Chiefs have not been dominant this year, but that was regular season Chiefs. I think they were just waiting for the postseason, to be honest with you. We're going to find out if this is a 27-23 game, if this is 30-24, and it's a close nip and tuck game, and they eke it out. You got a chance next week. If they beat the brakes off of the Browns, and it could definitely happen. If this is 41-20, and it's the Chiefs that we know and love, then I'm going to say, man, Buffalo, it's been real, man, and this has been a hell of a run. But then I'm pulling out the you got no chance. That's what you got. You up against some machine too strong. We ain't there yet though. I gotta see what they do against the Browns. I do think the Browns have a chance because they're gonna try to run it, and the Chiefs defensively have been vulnerable and susceptible to teams that can run it. So I want to see what the hell happens, but. More likely than not, you're right. You're heading to Kansas City and Arrowhead. But we will see. Stranger things have happened this postseason. See. Got another comment. This one, as we get back to the comment section, is from Kevin Olkak. Says, man, as a Packers fan, I want the Bills in the Super Bowl. They can't run the ball. We're going to carve them out or up. Whatever the case may be, it just makes more sense if you have the Bills. I mean, you don't want any parts of. First of all, you have to get there, so you're skipping steps, Kev. You gotta beat the winner of Saints Bucks at Lambeau, which you might be able to do, but it's no guarantee. You barely beat the Saints when they weren't at full strength in week 2 or 3. 37, what was that? 37-30. And you got destroyed by the Bucks earlier this season in Tampa. So let's not count our chickens before they hatch. And as far as wanting to play the Bills, if you were to get there, of course, you don't want any parts of Mahomes. So I'm pretty sure you want to play the Bills. Chris Z, thank you for the super chat, or thank you for the comment. Chris Z writes, I really thought a low-scoring game was going to be Baltimore's advantage. I was wrong, LOL. And it was. I mean, this is what they had to have the game be. They couldn't have this game be played in the upper 20s or the low 30s. That was advantage Buffalo. This game was advantage Baltimore. But Baltimore made too many mistakes. And it doesn't matter where the score is, low, high, mid-range. If you make mistakes, you're going to lose. That's how this game is set up. I've said this a number of times. A lot of times in the NFL, it's not teams going out and winning games. It's the team losing the game. And it's the team that makes the least amount of mistakes that generally wins in this league. And that's never more true than in the postseason. And you're seeing that again tonight with this game. The Baltimore Ravens simply made too many mistakes to call themselves the winner of this football game. Got another super chat. This one is from Andrew Smith again. My man Andrew, ninth of the night. Really appreciate you, Andrew Smith, who writes, Kevin, Kev, Carl, that's your name. Chill the funk down. Uh-oh. You guys behave yourselves. Back to the comments section we go. And let's see where we are. Here. My man Reese says, so Herb is the guy in Duval, Lou. I know you mentioned his health, but purely as a coach, can he get it done in the league? The coaching carousel fascinates me, even if my team isn't in it. Absolutely he can. I've long said that Herb is a master motivator. Young guys, older guys, I think he's going to be able to come in and get these guys to buy in. And it's a young Jacksonville Jaguars roster. They don't have a bunch of veterans. So it's almost like a college atmosphere there anyway. A bunch of young guys. They're going to draft a bunch more this offseason with the draft. They've got a ton of draft capital. They've got some money to spend in free agency if they so choose. And so I think he's going to come in and he's going to have these guys willing to run through a wall for him. Now, we'll see if his offense works. He's got a bit of a college offense, but we've seen more of the college game infiltrate the NFL game. So the lines are starting to become blurred in terms of offensive football, whether you say that's a college gimmicky offense. Well, shit, a lot of the NFL teams now are running some semblance of college stuff. So I think Herb's going to fit in just fine in Jacksonville. And I think the biggest key will be how quickly he gets that defense to turn around. If he can find a way to get that defense to come out playing some legit ball again, that will help them turn things around, because I don't know if Deshaun's staying in Houston or not. As the days pass, it seems like it's growing less and less likely that he's going to be in Houston. But if he remains in Houston, they're good with Lamar. Well, he's good. I don't know about that organization and that team, but Deshaun is good. The Titans aren't going anywhere, and the Colts, if they figure out the quarterback position, they're good. So he's got a lot to contend with in his own division, but it should be interesting. If he could keep his health under control, same thing I said about Uncle Bruce in Tampa. If he can keep his health under control, you got yourself a guy. You got yourself a dude. Rich says, is it me or did Huntley look exactly like Lamar with his helmet on? Even the way he ran, he said, I saw his throwing motion like Flacco a little too. I mean, if you didn't know what you were staring at, if you just turned the game on, you would have thought it was Lamar a little bit. Lamar's taller than he is, a lot longer than he is. And to me, the whole running thing, they don't look the same at all, because Lamar has long strides. Lamar looks like video game fast. Huntley looks regular. He's extra regular when it comes to that. But just standing back there, quick glance. If you're not paying close enough attention, you don't see 8, you see 2, but you're not really paying attention. I can see how you can make that mistake. But Lamar is a lot taller back there, and Lamar's also a lot faster. Rich also says, oh, no, the next one is from Ree, who says, Robert Saleh makes so much sense. I'm amazed that the Jets did something sensible. And he wanted the gig. I was surprised he wanted that job. We're going to see. We're going to see what he did, if he made the right decision or not. At some point, the old folks say a broken clock is right 2 times a day. So we'll see if this was just one of those instances where the Jets just happen to be right because you can't be wrong every single time, or are they starting to turn it around? We'll see. JP says, man, I'm so annoyed. I picked Baltimore to win, and the offense pissed all over itself, and Lamar chokes yet again. They didn't get it done. That's all I can say. Atlas says, I'll die on this hill. Ravens are holding Lamar back. Let the poor man cook instead of being a glorified running back. Um, there is a bit of validity to that. I don't think they're holding him back. I think they're doing all of the things they need to do to make, like, this is the thing that Washington wanted to do with Robert Griffin III. They wanted to slowly integrate him into a drop back passer. They wanted to work that stuff in, but they didn't want to overload him with a bunch of drop back stuff. I think at times they can be a little bit too over aggressive with the run. Like there was a play early in the game. I think it was either a second and long or a third and like 4. I think it was a third and 4. I really feel like it was. And it was a third and 4, as a matter of fact, I remember. They go student body right. And I'm like, really? It's third and 4? And you're just going to take 2 guys, pull them out, and take the fullback, bring him in motion, and he kicks out, and you're just going to have Lamar just run outside. That's it. That's the best you got on third and 4. You do that shit on first down. You can even do it on second down if you like. Don't do that on third and 4. And Tremaine Edmonds just ran with him and tracked him down, and Lamar got down because he saw this speeding bullet coming his way, and they had to punt. And I'm like, that's the best you got for me on third and 4. You thought that was the best play call in that particular instance. The Bills have settled in. They're stopping your run game. They're stopping the quarterback runs, and you think this is the time to pull that out on third and 4. And it's situations like that when I go, come on, guys. Come on. Seriously, give him a shot. But at the same time, I don't want to put too much on his plate as a passer either, because then it diminishes what this offense can be. The run is so impactful that it opens up the pass game. At some point, though, he's going to have to get to a point where, third and 13 doesn't seem impossible. A lot of times, teams, feel like, oh, the Ravens, unless Lamar's running for 14 or he scrambles out of the pocket and the defense sucks up, and then he finds, like he did J.K. Dobbins on the sidelines, unless he, sucks up the defense and somebody gets open, they can't convert on third and long. I don't think that's true. He's going to continue to evolve and grow as a passer. The thing that kills me is that people are so quick to jump to conclusions. I think people have forgotten this fast. Lamar Jackson is in year 3. Last year, this time, there was no way Josh Allen was going to be what he is right now. And I'm not comparing the two. They're not the same. But last year, this time, there was no way. People always think they got all the goddamn answers. You think you got no idea. None. Lamar Jackson is going to be just fine. I don't know if he'll ever be the passer that the Ravens want him to evolve into, but he's only in his 3rd season. Give me a break. If you think he's done and he can't do this and he stinks, fine. You're entitled to your opinion. I'm not going to try to convince you. But all he does is win games, and the beauty of winning games means you give yourself a chance to play another game. And he finally won a playoff game, got that monkey off his back. Now this season, you just come in and you try to win, and you try to get as many of them as you can, get as high a seed as you could possibly get, and see what happens next year. And they continue to build around him too. It's amazing. They need some more help at receiver. As far as much assets as they've spent on the offensive side of the football, whether it's Miles Boykin or Hollywood Brown, I think they can use a legitimate receiver. Like Des Bryant can't be your third option, fourth really, because Willie Snead is your 3rd best receiver, and even he is a free agent this year. We'll see what Baltimore decides to do with him. Got another super chat. This one is from Jordan Jones. Thank you for the super chat, tripling up, Jordan Jones. Greatly appreciate you, my man. Jordan Jones writes, if Baltimore had a true number 1 wide receiver, it could change the whole dynamic of their offense. Buffalo adding Diggs forced defenses to play us differently. Glad Baltimore doesn't invest in players who win one-on-ones. I actually think they have a legitimate number 1 candidate on their team in Hollywood Brown. He had some drops, like the Cleveland game earlier, but he can beat anybody one-on-one in this league. You saw what he did to Tre'Davious White on that 4th down. He can beat anybody in this league. His speed scares everyone shitless. So he's going to win and get easy completions underneath. He's a stud. You know, I think they need somebody opposite of him. I think he's a number one guy. There's no doubt in my mind. He's got all the intangibles to be a legit number one. And remember, this is just his second year in the league as well. Okay, so I think they've got one. I think they need another guy opposite that scares defenses. Right now, it's Hollywood Brown and the tight ends, and that's it. And so, in the running backs, I think they need another guy at receiver, to be honest with you. But we'll see what happens. You're right about the Buffalo Bills offense, though. You know, it was cool to have Smoke Brown and Cole Beasley last year, but you were missing that one guy. And I told you, in an NFL offense, a number one wide receiver changes everything because it properly slots everyone. When you've got a bunch of twos, and I like to say 22 twos trotting out there, you're forcing a number two receiver to pose and act as if he's a number one. He's not comfortable doing that. He's not comfortable going up against the other team's number one corner. He's not comfortable trying to win against Jalen Ramsey and then turning around and having to try to win against Jair Alexander and then trying to turn around and win against, this guy, Marlon Humphrey or that guy. It's just tough on a weekly basis to go up against the best that the other team has to offer if you're not capable of doing that. Whereas you get that number one, now it properly slots because when you don't have a number one, your number two is acting like a number one. Your number three is acting like a number two. Your number four is acting like a number three. And everybody's out of whack. And nobody's where they're supposed to be. You get a number one, and now everyone can properly fit into their slots. Now Cole Beasley can be your third option. Now John Brown can be your option two. Now, Gabe Davis doesn't have to feel like he's got to come in his rookie season and put up big numbers as a third option. He can be your fourth option. He's an afterthought. And so Diggs, his contribution, his impact on this offense is immeasurable. Like, you can't even begin to state how big it was for them to go out and get him this season. Let's take a couple more comments before we get out of here. But I understand where you're coming from, Atlas, just to add back to that, to go back to that, of holding him back. At times, I don't necessarily love what they call, but I think they're going about it the right way. Let's not put too much on Lamar's plate. Let's do the things that give him the best chance to be successful. And right now, that's him using his legs to set up the pass. Got another super chat. This one is from John Livingston. My man, JL Smooth. Congratulations, JL Smooth, on your Buffalo Bills advancing to the AFC Championship game. Now, the only question is, who will you be playing? Will you be hosting that game, or will you be traveling to Arrowhead? My man, JL Smooth, writes, what up, Lou? Bills Mafia in the building. Let's go. Everyone was picking the Ravens. I'm guilty. Guilty as charged. But they didn't watch last year's game. We bottled up Lamar Jackson, did the same thing tonight. Just awesome. I remember that game last year. You didn't win that game, but you bottled him up. Here was the thing, though, in that game. I remember you guys doing a good job, but I thought that the defense last year was better than the defense this year. So when I was watching those two teams and comparing the two, I thought that the defense last year would have had a better chance of doing what they did than the defense this year. I just thought this defense this year wasn't going to be capable of stopping not just Lamar. It's not just about Lamar. It's about the entire Ravens rushing attack. And so that's Gus Edwards. That's J.K. Dobbins. That's Lamar Jackson. So that's what I was kind of alluding, is that I didn't think you were going to be stout against the run. And you guys proved me wrong tonight. I thought you were exceptional against the run. And as I mentioned at the top of the show, I actually thought you even got pressure on Lamar, even on downs where you didn't blitz. I thought there was a steady diet of pressure on Lamar with just four guys. And even the times that he escaped, these were Houdini acts. These weren't easy. Oh, going to escape up the A gap. They were undisciplined, rushing up the field. No, he would bounce off one guy, run the other way, and then do a pirouette, and then come out the other side. And you're like, well, that's Lamar being Lamar. But he had to work so hard to get away that by the time he did all of that, here comes Matt Milano. They scored him out of bounds. It's only a 1-yard gain. So I just thought you guys collectively as a group did a phenomenal job of corralling Lamar Jackson and really making it difficult on him. I can't begin to describe to you, and I've already done it multiple times throughout this show, of just how impressed I was with this Bills defense tonight. Really thought they were outstanding, and the reason you won the game, to be honest with you. Let's see. We were here. Rich says, with me being the junior professional football watcher, I am that, he said that I am. I missed the deep ball by Hundley, was just hard to watch. Again, I'm going to chalk that up to the wind. I'm going to say Huntley didn't just miss that deep ball blatantly. I'm going to say the wind took a hold of that thing, and it took off on him. Maybe he did just miss it. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. Reese says, the Ravens should sign Joe Flacco and only play him in the postseason. Hashtag January Joe. Unfortunately, I don't think January Joe's ever coming back again. Gone, never to return again. But had some good times, man. Some good times. Animal Science TV. Brett Huntley looked good. Actually, it's Tyler Huntley. And he says, I joined late and I thought he was Lamar. What happened on the concussion? He went to pick up a bad snap by a center. Snapped it over his head. Ball's trickling towards the Bills' end zone. He scoops it up at around the 7 and tries to throw the football away. He's eventually called for intentional grounding. But as he's throwing the football, he's tackled down low by Matt Milano. He's hit up top by another Bills defender. And as we've seen so many times with guys, his helmet, he's not able to brace his fall. As he's getting hit, he falls backwards. The impact of the hit is very hard. His head snaps back, boom, hits the ground, and he was concussed. Stayed on the ground. They went to commercial break. They came back from commercial. Lamar was walking to the locker room. He never returned to the game. He's in concussion protocol, never returned. HHC Lunar writes, I will hear no arguments. Tre'Davious White is a top 5 corner. I don't think you'll get any arguments. If you've been watching enough football, you know that Tre'Davious White is a top 5 corner. So I don't think you'll get many arguments there. Rich says, I get the wind was like no other, but these kicks were so weird. Yeah, the wind is a dangerous thing, man. What did Rick James say? Cocaine is a hell of a drug. That wind was a hell of a sumbitch tonight. It really was. I mean, the ball, because in your mind, you try to compensate. Like, I know the last field goal Tucker made before halftime, the field goal he kicked before halftime, the only points they scored in the game, he kicked the shit out of that football. You know what he just said on that one? I'm not trying to play to win. I'm not trying to worry about if it's swirling right or left. I'm going to just kick the shit out of it and hope that the wind doesn't get a hold of it in enough time that it goes through the uprights. Because if you watch that football, if that kick had been from 5 yards further back, that's a miss. The wind was pushing that thing right. And he just kicked it. So he kicked the shit out of that ball so hard that it had no choice but to get through the uprights before the wind could take it all the way right. If he would have kicked that thing up higher or it didn't have as much velocity on it, the wind would have got a hold of it and it might have hit the upright again. So his adjustment was, I'm going to just kick the shit out of it. I'm not even going to try to battle, figure out left or right. Should I hit it out here and let the wind draw it back in? He wasn't even trying to do any of that. I think the Bills kicker, Tyler Bass, was trying to kind of play the wind and kick it out here. And like his first kick that stayed outside and never came back, I think he was trying to draw it, Kick it out here, let the wind take it back inside, and it'll be all good. And it never did. And that's the thing with the wind. You just never know what you're going to get. It's crazy. Reese says, things that just seem to go wrong in the postseason for Baltimore. They are just solid all year, and come January, things just fall apart. So this is the thing that you have to understand. When you play the brand of football that they play, there is a much smaller margin for error because they're not capable of scoring 37 this year. Last year they were. They were scoring 30 plus on everybody. But even last year, because of the way their offense is centered, it's based around the run game. And usually this time of the year, you want to have a dominant ground game and an offense that doesn't turn it over. And they don't turn it over very often. And you want to have a defense that's trifling and stifling. And they have that. Usually that's a winning recipe come January. However, when you don't score a ton of points and your margin for error is like this, you can't miss 2 field goals. You can't have a receiver drop a football for a first down on third down and end a drive. You can't take a sack on 2nd and 8 and push you just on the fringe of field goal range. You can't have your quarterback throw a pick 6. These are the mistakes that are magnified this time of the year. Why? Because you're not playing Cincinnati. You're not playing Jacksonville. You're not playing the New York Giants anymore. You don't get to overcome those types of mistakes because now everybody is good this time of the year. So when you make the mistakes that Baltimore made in this game, you lose the game because you aren't playing Cincinnati. Now you're playing Buffalo. That's the difference between January football and November football, is that you may be able to turn it over twice, but because you happen to be playing Cincinnati or you happen to be playing the Texans, you get away with that. You can overcome those mistakes and still win. You can't do that in the postseason. You make mistakes, and the Chiefs can turn it over. We saw the Chiefs in a game against the Dolphins turn it over 4 times. They lost the turnover battle. They turned it over 4 times, and they still won. Why? Because their margin of error is like this. It's wide. It's huge. They can make mistakes, but they can overcome it because they're dynamic and they can score in the blink of an eye. So you can overcome a mistake or 2 or 3. But when you're Baltimore and you're winning games 20-13, you're winning games 23-17, you don't have a huge margin of error. All right. You can't make mistakes and expect to still win against good ball clubs. It's the same thing Washington did last week. It's one thing when you're playing Dallas, Philly, or the Giants. Yeah, you can go ahead and make mistakes. You can have an interception. You can have drop passes. You can make those types of mistakes when you're playing against those teams. But when you're playing against Tampa Bay and you're in the playoffs, you can't make those mistakes or you're going to lose. And that's why we lost the game. When you're one of these teams with a small margin for error, you can't make mistakes. You've got to play perfect ball or you're going to lose. And what we've seen in this postseason are the teams that have a small margin for error haven't been able to make enough plays. And it shrinks even more when you get to the postseason because everybody's good. And so if you're one of these teams that is heavily reliant on your defense and you need a defense to hold the other team to 17 or 20 to have a chance to win, you're going to more likely than not be one and done. You're going to get out of here rather quickly because mistakes are going to be made. You hope to avoid those mistakes, but if you can't, you're going to lose the football game. And that's what happened to Baltimore tonight. And that's what happened to them last year and the year before that. The 20th Mike says, that number 2 looked a lot like Lamar. Not playing like him wise. I thought that was Lamar for a second. So much for Washington fans riding the Ravens boat. Again, if you tuned in late and you look back there and you just glanced, up until you saw him holding the ball, like there's no way you watched him drop back like this and say, okay, yeah, that's still Lamar. For me, I would have looked at him and thought immediately, who the hell is that at quarterback? Because again, Lamar is much taller than Tyler Huntley. All right, I think Lamar's like 6'3". Huntley might be 6 feet. You know, they might list him at 6'1". Tyler Huntley's 6 feet tall. So I think Lamar is a legitimate 6'3". He might be 6'2", but he's a legit. I think he's the legit 6'3". So there's a height difference, and there's a little bit of a stature difference too. Lamar's tall. He's rail thin. He's up and down. Huntley's got a little bit of thickness to him, but that's nor here nor there. If you looked at him and just glanced and you didn't know, yeah, I could see how you could have thought that was Lamar for a second. Reese says Stephon Diggs is a beast. You think? Reese says, looks like the Texans didn't take your advice and mend fences while there was a chance. The Deshaun situation is irreparable, and now he'll be gone. It feels that way. It feels like it's moving in that direction. They've handled this thing so wrong, and I've read an article. I'm going to save it for the podcast, but I read an article, an SI article that I thought did a tremendous job of kind of outlining everything. And really the guy, as I mentioned, and I said this on Friday, if you really wanted Deshaun to feel like change was actually happening, the first step needed to be you got to get rid of Easterby. You got to get rid of Jack Easterby. He is, right now, he is what Bruce Allen was in the Washington organization. He is the devil in that organization. He is a leech. He is sucking the life out of that organization. And unfortunately, just like in Washington for years, the ownership is too blind to see it. It's too blind. He's too invested. It's his right-hand man. He doesn't want to cut ties. And he's ultimately going to lose his franchise quarterback, his star quarterback, because of it. It's a shame. Anyway, we've been at it for $1:30. I'm going to glide to the side now. I thank you guys for joining me. Really appreciate y'all. Big win for the Buffalo Bills. It wasn't pretty, but it was gritty, and most importantly, as always, it was a dub. And that's all anybody cares about, especially at this time of the year. They get it done, 17-3, advance to the AFC Championship game. Their ticket is punched. Now the only question is, are they staying home again, or are they on the road out to Kansas City? Most people think it's Kansas City. We will see. If you're a Bills fan out there, you could care less. You're just happy to be here. Celebrate! Your Buffalo Bills are in the AFC Championship, one game away from making the trek to Tampa. And as a wise man once said to me, be ready. In January, might be chilly in Buffalo. Well, Ravens found that out the hard way tonight. And so, Ravens are going home. Bills are moving on to the AFC Championship game. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here, but before I leave, if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the Louie T Network. Make sure you turn on that notification bell so you don't miss a thing, and also make sure you hit that like button on the way out. 160 of you are out there still, only 60 likes. Let's get this thing up to 70, maybe 80. It'd be great if you can get it to 100. Beggars can't be choosers. I'll take 70. Okay, just let's get that like count up if we can on the way out. That said, I'm going to get out of here, get some rest, because we got another long day tomorrow, 2 more games. Bart Scott, can't wait. Should be 2 fantastic games. Looking forward to both of them, and we will have our NFL Championship Sunday set up after tomorrow's 2 games. So looking forward to that. We'll know who's playing who, where, and when, and how after tomorrow. So looking forward to that. Bills and Packers both clinch tickets to their respective championship games. We'll see who awaits those 2 teams, as tomorrow we will figure out what Championship Sunday will look like. Until then, I'm your man Louie T, signing off. Until next time, you guys take care. Have a good one. I'll see you tomorrow. LouieTeeNetwork.